You don't need anything, Mom. Just go to a nursing home and shut up. My son Daniel said those words to me in my own living room in Mesa, Arizona, while his wife Rebecca stood behind him, with her arms crossed and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I was 74 years old, standing in the house I'd owned for 42 years, being told to leave by the child I'd raised alone after his father died.
Daniel, this is my home.
Not anymore. He pulled out a stack of papers from his briefcase. You signed power of attorney over to me 6 months ago, when you had that fall. Remember? You said you needed help managing your affairs. Well, I've been managing them. I sold the house last week. Closing is in 30 days. I've already found you a nice facility. Sunset Gardens. They have bingo on Thursdays. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of my couch, the same couch where I'd rocked Daniel as a baby, where I'd helped him with homework, where I'd held him when his father died. You sold my house. Your house was worth $700,000, Mom? You're sitting on all that equity while Rebecca and I are drowning in debt. It's selfish. The nursing home costs $4,000 a month, which still leaves us with $640,000. Rebecca interrupted, her voice sharp with excitement that she didn't bother headed. She'd been calculating this for months. I realized, maybe years. I looked at my son, searching for the boy I'd raised, but I only saw a stranger wearing his face. When do I have to leave? 2 weeks. I'll help you pack. After they left, I sat in the silence of my home and let the shock wear off. Then I walked to my bedroom, opened my closet, and pulled out the lockbox from the top shelf, the one Daniel didn't know existed because he'd never bothered to really look at my life. Inside were documents I'd kept private for good reason: property deeds, stock certificates, bank statements, the evidence of a life Daniel had never bothered to ask about. I pulled out my phone and made the first call. Marcus, it's Teresa Chen. I need you to stop the sale of 4782 Maple Street immediately. Mrs. Chen, I don't understand. Your son said you approved? My son lied. That property is held in a trust that he has no legal authority over. The power attorney he's using is fraudulent. I never signed over property rights, only medical decision-making. I need you to file an emergency injunction today. The second call was harder. Dr. Patel, this is Teresa Chen. You examined me 6 months ago after my fall. I need you to write a letter confirming that I was mentally competent when I signed that limited power of attorney, and that I remain competent now. Of course. Mrs. Chen, but why do you need? Has something happened? My son is trying to put me in a nursing home and steal my house. I need to stop him before he destroys everything I've built. The third call was to my financial advisor. Robert, I need you to freeze all accounts that Daniel has access to, every single one. And I need documentation of every withdrawal he's made in the past 6 months. Teresa, if I do that, you're going to start a war with your son. The war already started. I'm just finally fighting back. But what I didn't know yet was that Daniel had been planning this for over a year, and my house was just the beginning of what he'd been stealing from me. The injunction worked. Marcus called me the next morning with news that made my hands shake with rage. Mrs. Chen, I've reviewed the sale documents. Your signature on the authorization was forged. It's not even a good forgery. Whoever did it didn't know you're left-handed. They signed with right-hand slant. What happens now? The sale is dead. The buyers are furious, but they'll get their deposit back. And Mrs. Chen? You might want to call the police. This is fraud. This is a felony. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because I needed to understand how deep this went. I spent 3 days going through my financial records, and what I found made me physically sick. Over the past 18 months, Daniel had been systematically draining my accounts. He'd used the medical power of attorney to access my banking information, claiming he needed it to help manage my medications. But instead of managing anything, he'd been transferring money. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Small enough amounts that I hadn't noticed at first, but they added up to almost $80,000. Gone. Transferred to accounts in his and Rebecca's names. Money I'd saved over 50 years of working 2 jobs, raising a child alone, investing carefully, living below my means so I'd never be a burden on anyone. And he'd stolen it because he saw me as nothing more than a source of funding for his lifestyle. I hired a forensic accountant. Her name was Jennifer Park, and she was ruthless in the best possible way. She spent a week analyzing every transaction, and when she called me with her report, her voice was cold with professional anger. Mrs. Chen, the theft totals approximately $312,000 when you include the forged sale attempt. Your son and his wife have been planning this since before you fell. The fall was just the excuse they needed to get power of attorney. I've seen this pattern before. It's called elder financial abuse, and it's more common than you'd think. $312,000. The number echoed in my head like a scream. What do I do? You press charges. This isn't a family dispute, Mrs. Chen. This is a crime. That night, Daniel showed up at my door with a U-Haul trailer. Mom, I'm here to help you pack. The nursing home needs you moved in by Friday. I looked at my son, this man who decided I was disposable, who'd forged my signature, who'd stolen from me for 18 months, and I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest where love used to live. Daniel, I'm not going to the nursing home. Mom, we've been through this. The house sale was canceled. The signature was forged. And I know about the money. His face went white, then red, then white again. I don't know what you're talking about. $312,000. That's what you and Rebecca have stolen from me. I have documentation docket and every transfer, every forged signature, every lie you told to access my accounts. I have a forensic accountant's report. I have testimony from my doctor that I was mentally competent when I signed a limited power of attorney that you exceeded, and I have a decision to make about whether I call the police or give you one chance to make this right. Rebecca appeared behind him, her face twisted with something ugly. You can't prove anything. I can prove everything. Jennifer Park is very thorough, but here's what I'm offering. You return every penny you stole. You sign a legal document, relinquishing any claim to my property or my finances. You agree to family therapy, so we can try to salvage some kind of relationship. And in exchange, I won't press charges. That's insane, Rebecca hissed. We spent that money. We can't just give it back. Then I call the police, and Daniel goes to prison for elder abuse and fraud. Your choice. You have 24 hours to decide. Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Finally, he managed. Why would you do this? After everything, why would you offer therapy instead of just destroying me? Because you're my son. And because I want to understand how the boy I raised became a man who could look his mother in the eyes and tell her to shut up and go die quietly in a nursing home. They left without the U-Haul ever being unpacked. And as I watched them drive away, I wondered if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life by offering mercy, because what I didn't know yet was that Rebecca had a backup plan, one that would make their theft look like kindness compared to what came next. Rebecca showed up at my door 3 days later, alone. She was crying, her makeup smeared, her hands shaking. Teresa, can I come in? Please. I need to talk to you. Every instinct screamed at me to slam the door in her face, but something in her desperation made me pause. Where's Daniel? He doesn't know I'm here. Please. I'm trying to fix this. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat on my couch and pulled out a checkbook. This is our entire savings. $47,000. It's all we have left. I want to give it to you as a down payment on what we owe. I stared at the check. It wasn't nearly enough, but it was something. What about the rest? We'll get it. We'll sell our cars. We'll take out loans. We'll do whatever it takes. But Teresa, I need you to understand something. This wasn't my idea. This was all Daniel. The lie was so blatant, so insulting. But I almost laughed. Rebecca, I heard you calculating the profit from my house sale. You weren't a victim. You were a partner. I was scared. Daniel told me we were going to lose everything if we didn't figure something out. His business failed. We're $150,000 in debt. And I just went along with what he said because I didn't know what else to do. So you decided to steal from his elderly mother? I know how it sounds. I know how terrible we've been. But I want to make it right. I want to pay you back and try to fix our relationship. Something about her story didn't add up. She was too calm now, too collected after the initial tears. She kept glancing at her purse, like she was checking the time on her phone or making sure something was still there. Rebecca, why are you really here? She took a deep breath. Because I need you to sign something. A statement saying that you gave us the money willingly, that it wasn't theft. It was a gift from a mother to her struggling son. If you sign it, we'll pay you back every penny. But if you don't, Daniel says we have no choice but to fight you legally, and that will cost both of us everything in attorney fees. There it was. The real reason for the visit. The tears, the check, the sob story, all of it was manipulation to get me to sign away my right to press charges. Get out of my house. Teresa, please, get out. Now, before I call the police and have you arrested for harassment. She grabbed her purse and stood, and as she did, something fell out onto my floor. A small recording device. She'd been recording our entire conversation, probably hoping I'd say something she could use against me in court. I picked it up and held it out to her. You forgot this. Her face went from fake tears to pure hatred in an instant. You stupid old woman. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what's coming. We're going to destroy you. We're going to prove you're senile and incompetent. We're going to take everything from you. And there's nothing you can do to stop us. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You should have taken the deal. After she left, I sat with that recording device for a long time. Then I called Jennifer Park. I need you to do something else for me. I need you to investigate Rebecca, her employment history, her finances, everything. Because I don't think this started with Daniel. I think she's been planning this from the beginning. Jennifer called me back 6 hours later. Mrs. Chen, you need to sit down for this. Rebecca Morrison, that's her maiden name, has done this before. 3 years ago, she dated an elderly man in California, convinced him to give her power of attorney, then drained his accounts. His family sued, but he died before the case went to trial, and Rebecca walked away with $200,000. She changed her name, moved to Arizona, and met Daniel at a singles event. 18 months later, my vision blurred. She's a con artist. She's a professional elder abuser. And she targeted your son specifically because he had access to you. This was never about love or marriage. This was about finding a way into your life so she could steal from you. Does Daniel know? I don't think so. Based on the timeline, she played him just like she played you. She made him think the financial stress was his fault, that they needed money desperately, that you were the solution to all their problems. She's been manipulating him for over a year, turning him against you so she could get what she wanted. I thought about my son, about the boy who used to bring me flowers from the neighbor's garden, about the teenager who'd cried in my arms when his father died, about the man who'd told me to shut up and go to a nursing home. Had I lost him to a con artist? Or had Rebecca simply revealed who he'd always been underneath? Jennifer, I need you to do one more thing. I need you to find the family of the man in California, the one Rebecca stole from. I need to talk to them. His name was William Harrison, and his daughter Sarah agreed to meet me the next day at a coffee shop in Scottsdale. She was in her 50s, tired looking, with eyes that had seen too much betrayal. Thank you for meeting me, I said. I know this must be difficult. My father died thinking his girlfriend loved him. He died believing he'd given her that money willingly, as a gift, because she'd convinced him he was confused about his own finances. She destroyed him financially and emotionally, and then she walked away to find her next victim. So no, Miss Jin, it's not difficult to meet you. It's infuriating that she's doing it again. What can I do? How do I stop her? You can't. We tried. We sued. We reported her to the police. We did everything we could, but she's careful. She never leaves evidence of coercion. She records conversations to protect herself. She befriends doctors and lawyers who vouch for her character. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. It's not too late for me. I caught her before she succeeded. Sarah leaned forward. Then finish it. Press charges against your son and make sure Rebecca gets dragged into the investigation. It's the only way to stop her from doing this to another family. That night, I made the call I'd been avoiding. Detective Morrison, this is Teresa Chen. I need to report elder abuse and fraud, and I have evidence of a pattern of criminal behavior that you're going to want to see. But what I didn't know was that Rebecca had already made her move. And by the time I walked into the police station, the next morning, I was walking into a trap. The police station lobby was unusually crowded when I arrived. Detective Morrison greeted me with a grim expression that immediately put me on edge. Mrs. Chen, thank you for coming in. But I need to inform you that we've already received a complaint. from your son. What kind of complaint? He's claiming that you're experiencing dementia and paranoid delusions. He says you've been accusing him and his wife of theft based on imaginary evidence. He's provided statements from neighbors saying you've been confused lately, forgetting conversations, repeating yourself. He's asking us to conduct a mental competency evaluation before we take your accusations seriously. The room spun. This was Rebecca's plan. She'd spent the last few days manufacturing evidence of my incompetence, probably coaching Daniel on exactly what to say, preparing for the moment when I'd try to report them. Detective, I have documentation. I've seen it. Your financial advisor's report, the forensic accountant's analysis, your doctor's letter of competency. But Mrs. Chen, your son is arguing that these documents were obtained while you were experiencing a lucid interval, and that your overall mental state is deteriorating. He's being very strategic about this. He's lying. Maybe. But I can't ignore the complaint. I need you to submit to a psychiatric evaluation before we can proceed with your case. It's standard procedure when mental capacity is questioned. I looked at this detective, this woman who was supposed to help me, and I realized I was alone in this fight. Daniel and Rebecca had outmaneuvered me. They'd weaponized my age against me, used society's assumptions about elderly people against me, turned my attempt to seek justice into evidence of my supposed mental decline. Fine. I'll do the evaluation, but I want it done by an independent psychiatrist, not someone they choose. That's fair. The evaluation took 3 days. Dr. Sandra Martinez put me through every cognitive test imaginable: memory, problem-solving, reasoning, emotional regulation. She interviewed people who knew me, reviewed my medical history, analyzed my behavior patterns, and at the end of it all, she called me into her office with a thick report. Mrs. Chen, you are one of the most mentally sharp 74-year-olds I've ever evaluated. Your cognition is excellent. Your memory is above average for your age. You show no signs of dementia, paranoia, or any other mental health condition that would impair your judgment. In my professional opinion, your son's claims are completely unfounded. Relief made my knees weak. Can you give that report to Detective Morrison? I already have, but Mrs. Chen, I need to tell you something else. During my investigation, I interviewed several of your neighbors. 3 of them told me that your daughter-in-law had approached them in the past week, asking leading questions about your behavior. Have you noticed Teresa seeming confused? Has she repeated stories to you? She was manufacturing evidence, coaching them to report problems that don't exist. That's witness tampering. It is, and it's documented in my report. Detective Morrison is very interested in speaking with Rebecca now. When I returned to the police station, Daniel was there. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, his clothes wrinkled. He saw me and flinched, actually physically recoiled like I was something dangerous. Detective Morrison wants to see both of us, I told him. Together. We sat in an interrogation room, me, Daniel, the detective, and our respective attorneys. The detective laid out the evidence methodically. The forged signatures, the unauthorized transfers, the pattern of theft, the psychiatric evaluation proving my competence, the witness tampering Rebecca had attempted. Mr. Chen, you have 2 options, Detective Morrison said. You can cooperate with our investigation, investigate Rebecca Morrison's activities, provide testimony about how she manipulated you, and work with your mother to make financial restitution. Or you can continue to protect your wife, in which case you'll both be charged with elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. Your choice. Daniel looked at me, and I saw something break in his eyes. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know about Rebecca's past, about what she was really doing. She told me you had plenty of money, that you didn't need the house, that you'd be happier in a nursing home. She made it sound like we were helping you, and I believed her, because I wanted to believe her, because we were desperate and I was weak, and I'm so sorry. Did you know about the forged signatures? No, I swear I didn't know about those. I thought you'd actually agreed to sell the house. Rebecca handled all the paperwork. She told me you'd signed everything when I wasn't there. But you knew about the money transfers. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. She said you'd given us permission. She said you wanted to help us. I know that sounds stupid now, but I was so stressed about our debt that I didn't question it. I should have questioned it. I should have asked you directly, but I didn't want to admit to you that I'd failed, that my business went under, that I couldn't take care of my own family. So you decided to steal from yours. I didn't think of it as stealing. I thought of it as borrowing from family, which is what Rebecca kept saying. It's just family, helping family, over and over until I believed it. Detective Morrison slid a document across the table. This is a cooperation agreement. You testify against Rebecca. You provide all communications between you two regarding the theft. You work with your mother to create a repayment plan, and the DA will consider reducing your charges to a misdemeanor with probation instead of prison time. Daniel looked at the paper, then at me. What do you want me to do, Mom? And that was the question, wasn't it? What did I want? Did I want revenge? Did I want my son in prison? Did I want to destroy what was left of our relationship? Or did I want something else? Something harder and more complicated than simple justice? I want the truth, I said. All of it. Every lie, every manipulation, every moment you chose Rebecca over me. I want you to face what you did, and then I want you to spend the rest of your life making it right. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. He signed the cooperation agreement. And over the next 3 days, he told Detective Morrison everything. How Rebecca had researched my finances before they even got engaged. How she'd suggested he get power of attorney just in case something happened to me. How she'd slowly isolated him from me, making me seem unreasonable and difficult, so he'd stop listening to my concerns. How she'd forged my signature herself and made him believe I'd actually signed. How she'd spent the stolen money on luxury items, vacations, and paying off her own personal debts that he hadn't even known existed. Rebecca was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there, but Daniel told me about it later. She'd tried to run, had actually packed a suitcase and been heading to the airport when the police picked her up. She'd already drained their joint bank accounts, taken everything that wasn't tied down, and left Daniel with nothing but debt and criminal charges. At her arraignment, she glared at me across the courtroom, and I looked back at her. This woman who'd almost destroyed my family, and I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just a cold certainty that she would never hurt anyone I loved again. The judge denied bail. Rebecca Morrison, aka Rebecca Chen, aka Jessica Morrison, from her California con, was going await trial in jail, and based on the evidence, the prosecutor told me she was looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. But the real question wasn't what would happen to Rebecca. It was what would happen to Daniel and me. Could we rebuild a relationship that had been poisoned by lies and theft? Could I ever trust him again? Could he ever forgive himself for what he'd done? Those were questions without easy answers. But what I did know was that I wasn't going to make it easy for him. If he wanted my forgiveness, he was going to have to earn it. 6 months after Rebecca's arrest, Daniel stood in my living room again. But this time, he wasn't telling me to leave. He was asking if he could stay. The apartment is gone, he said quietly. I couldn't make the rent after Rebecca emptied our account. I've been staying with a friend, but I can't do that forever. I found a job, nothing fancy, just warehouse work. But it pays enough that I can start paying you back. $50 a week. It's not much, but it's something. I looked at my son, this man who'd hit bottom and was trying to climb back up. He'd lost his wife, his home, his savings, and most of his dignity. He'd spent the past 6 months in court-ordered therapy, learning how he'd been manipulated and facing his own role in what had happened. His therapist said he was making progress, but progress was slow when you were rebuilding yourself from rubble. You can stay in the guest room, I said, temporarily until you get on your feet.
Thank you, Mom. I promise I won't.
We're going to have rules. You pay rent, $50 a week. Like you said, you do your own laundry. You cook dinner twice a week. You go to therapy. You attend the financial literacy class I enrolled you in. And every Sunday we sit down and you tell me one thing you learned that week about yourself, about money, or about family. No lies, no excuses, just truth. He nodded, tears in his eyes. I can do that. The first few weeks were awkward. We orbited each other like strangers, neither of us sure how to be around the other. But slowly through those Sunday conversations, through shared meals and quiet evenings, we started to rebuild something. Not what we'd had before, that was gone forever, but something new. something more honest. Daniel told me about how Rebecca had isolated him from his friends, made him believe his mother was judgmental and difficult, convinced him that asking for help was a sign of weakness. He told me about the business failure, about how the shame had made him desperate enough to listen to her suggestions, about how she'd made stealing from me sound like a reasonable solution to his problems. And I told him about my own mistakes, about how I'd been so focused on appearing strong and independent that I'd never let him see me struggle, about how I'd never taught him that it was okay to fail, okay to ask for help, okay to be vulnerable, about how my own pride had maybe made it easier for Rebecca to convince him I didn't need anything from anyone. "I should have asked you about your business," I said one Sunday evening. "I should have noticed you were struggling. I hid it from you. I didn't want you to know I'd failed." Failure isn't a moral judgment, Daniel. It's just life. Everyone fails at something. The question is what you do afterward. What am I supposed to do? I stole from you. I told you to go to a nursing home. And shut up. I chose a con artist over my own mother. How do I come back from that? The same way anyone comes back from anything. One day at a time. One good choice at a time. One act of honesty at a time. By month 3, Daniel had saved enough money to start making real payments toward what he'd stolen. He handed me a check for $500, 10 weeks of rent plus extra from overtime he'd worked. "It's not much compared to what I owe, but I want you to have it. Put it in a savings account." "What?" "You need to rebuild your own financial foundation before you pay me back. I'm not going to take money from you when you can barely afford food. So here's the new deal. You keep working, you keep saving, and when you have $10,000 in an emergency fund, then you can start paying me back. Deal?" He stared at me. "Why would you do that?" "Because I'm your mother, and because the point isn't punishing you forever. The point is helping you become someone who would never do this again." By month 6, Daniel had saved $8,000. He'd also been promoted to a supervisor position at the warehouse, doubling his salary, and he'd started volunteering at a senior center, helping elderly people with their finances, teaching them how to spot scams and protect themselves from exploitation. "I'm trying to pay it forward," he told me. "For what I did to you. I can't undo it, but maybe I can stop it from happening to someone else." One of the seniors he worked with was a woman named Margaret, whose grandson had been stealing from her the same way Daniel had stolen from me. Daniel helped her document the theft, connected her with legal resources, and testified on her behalf when the case went to court. The grandson was convicted, and Margaret kept her home. "You saved her," I told Daniel after the trial. "No, Mom. You saved her. By giving me a second chance. By teaching me how to be bare. By not giving up on me, even when I deserved it. You showed me that accountability and mercy can exist at the same time. That's what I'm trying to pass on." Rebecca's trial happened in month 8. Daniel testified against her, explaining in painful detail how she'd manipulated him, how she'd targeted me through him, how she'd planned every step of the theft. The jury convicted her on all charges: elder abuse, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. The judge sentenced her to 12 years in prison. As we left the courthouse, Daniel turned to me. "Do you think I would have ended up like her if you'd given up on me?" "I don't know, but I didn't give up on you, so we'll never have to find out." Now, as I sit in my living room, the same living room where Daniel once told me to shut up and go to a nursing home, I watch him cook dinner in my kitchen. He's making his father's favorite recipe, chicken mole, from the recipe card I've kept for 40 years. He's humming to himself, peaceful in a way I haven't seen him in years. He's been living with me for a year now. He has $22,000 saved. He's dating someone new, a woman named Lisa who works at the senior center with him. She knows everything about his past, about what he did, and she's helping him continue his recovery. They're taking it slow, building something on honesty instead of lies. Next month, he's moving into his own apartment, not far from here, just 10 minutes away, because we've learned that we need each other. Not in a codependent way, but in the way that families should need each other, with boundaries and honesty and mutual respect. "Mom," he calls from the kitchen. "Dinner's ready." We sit at my table, the same table where he once threw down papers trying to sell my house, and we eat together. He tells me about his day, About a new class he's teaching at the senior center on financial planning, about how Margaret introduced him to her book club, and they want him to lead a discussion on elder financial abuse. You're becoming an advocate, I say. I'm becoming who I should have been all along. After dinner, he pulls out an envelope. I have something for you. Inside is a check for $312,000. Every penny he stole, plus interest. Daniel, I told you to save. I did save, but I also invested. And I worked 3 jobs for the past year, and I sold everything I owned that had any value. And I took out a personal loan that I'll be paying off for the next 10 years. Because I needed to do this. I needed to make you whole. I look at this check, at this man who's worked himself to exhaustion to repay a debt that could have been erased by bankruptcy or time, who chose the hard path because it was the right path. I'm proud of you. He starts crying, really crying, the kind of crying that comes from a place of deep relief. I didn't think you'd ever say that again. I didn't either, but you earned it. People ask me, sometimes, if I regret not sending Daniel to prison, if I regret choosing mercy over justice. But here's what I've learned. Mercy and justice aren't opposites. Mercy is just a different form of justice. One that believes in redemption instead of just punishment. One that sees potential instead of just past actions. My son told me to go to a nursing home and shut up. He stole from me. He chose a con artist over his mother. He hit rock bottom in every way that matters. But I gave him a chance to climb back up. And he took it. He did the work. He faced his mistakes. He became someone better than he was. That's not weakness. That's not being a doormat. That's understanding that people can change if you give them the space and structure to do so. That's knowing that the hardest thing you can do isn't destroying someone. It's believing they can be better and holding them accountable until they prove you right. I'm Teresa Chen. I'm 75 years old. My son tried to steal my home and put me in a nursing home. I could have destroyed him. I could have watched him go to prison and felt justified in my anger. But I didn't, because I remembered something my husband used to say. Teresa, the measure of your character isn't how you treat people who deserve your mercy. It's how you treat people who don't. Daniel didn't deserve my mercy, but I gave it anyway. And in doing so, I didn't just save his life. I reclaimed my own power. Because real power isn't about destruction. It's about transformation. It's about turning your enemies into family. It's about choosing to believe in redemption, even when it would be easier to believe in revenge. The nursing home Daniel picked out for me, I bought it last month. Turned it into a nonprofit resource center for elderly people facing financial abuse. We help them document theft, connect with lawyers, file police reports, and rebuild their lives. Daniel runs it. He works with victims every day, helping them find the justice and support that I gave him. We should call it Teresa's Place, he suggested. No, I said. Call it Second Chances. Because that's what we're giving people. That's what you gave me by becoming better. A second chance to believe in you. The center opens next month. We've already helped 47 families, 47 elderly people who were being exploited by family members, by caregivers, by con artists like Rebecca. 47 people who thought they were alone and helpless and disposable. We showed them they weren't, just like I showed Daniel he wasn't. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not property or money or revenge, but the understanding that being old doesn't mean being powerless. That being hurt doesn't mean becoming bitter. That being betrayed doesn't mean giving up on love. My son told me to shut up and go to a nursing home. So I bought the nursing home and turned it into a weapon against elder abuse. I took his cruelty and transformed it into compassion. I took his crime and turned it into redemption. People think getting old means losing power. They think being 75 means being vulnerable and weak and easy to exploit. Let them think that. Because underestimating elderly people is the biggest mistake anyone can make. We've survived longer than you. We've learned more than you. We've fought harder battles than you can imagine. And when you try to break us, we don't shatter. We rebuild. Stronger, wiser, and absolutely unbreakable. That's the lesson I want my grandchildren. When Daniel eventually has them with Lisa to learn, that's the story I want passed down. Not the story of how their father tried to destroy me, but the story of how he became better. And how I made that possible by refusing to give up on him. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can do isn't winning. It's deciding what winning means. I chose to win by transforming cruelty into kindness, theft into restitution, betrayal into redemption, and I'd make that choice again, every single time.